Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Tuesday, May 26, 2020. I am Harleen Delgado.
Join us in the next 45 minutes as we deliver today's top stories around the globe. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Theo.
And for the top stories tonight, the World Health Organization suspends trials of hydroxychloroquine in COVID-19 patients due to safety concerns.
The country's health department will stop giving the anti-malarial drug hydroxychloroquine to COVID-19 patients who are participating in the Solidarity trial in search for cure for COVID-19.
President Rodrigo Duterte is not in favor of reopening in-person classes unless a vaccine against coronavirus disease 2019 is readily available. It's a constitutional right of people to go home, says President Duterte, as he warns local governments who will refuse returning OFW.
Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro faces further pressure as the USA imposes travel restrictions.
And Cuban graffiti artists paint life amid pandemic on walls. The World Health Organization, or WHO, has suspended testing hydroxychloroquine on COVID-19 patients due to safety concerns. The malaria drug has been touted by U.S. President Donald Trump and other officials as a possible treatment for the disease caused by the novel coronavirus. The U.S. president has even said he was taking the drug to help prevent infection. The WHO has previously recommended against using hydroxychloroquine to treat or prevent coronavirus infections, except as part of clinical trials.
So as such, it is not related to any problem. There is no signal. We're just acting on an abundance of caution based on the recent results from other studies to ensure that we can continue safely with that arm of the trial.
The WHO says that countries have to work to ensure that there was no immediate second peak of the virus, saying that countries would have to put in place comprehensive strategies to ensure a downward trajectory of COVID-19 cases.
All countries need to remain on high alert here. All countries need to be ready to rapidly detect cases. Even countries that have had success in suppression, as Mike has said, even countries that have seen a decline in cases must remain ready.
In connection to that report, the country's health department will stop giving the anti-malarial drug hydroxychloroquine to COVID-19 patients who are participating in the Solidarity trial in search of cure for COVID-19. Aiko Miguel, our correspondent who monitors the progress of the Solidarity trial, will give the details why live. Yes, Aiko, go ahead.
Yes, Arlene, good evening. A day after the World Health Organization disclosed that it is suspending the administration of hydroxychloroquine to COVID-19 patients who have joined the clinical trial, our Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere announced today they will also stop giving the anti-malarial drug to COVID-19 patients who are part of the Solidarity trial in the country. Arlene, here's what Undersecretary Vergere said earlier today.
This morning, nagpalabas na po ng sulat ang ating proponent at pinadala sa aking opisina na sinasabi na nga po nila that we are pulling out and we are stopping from giving this hydroxychloroquine to our patients because of the WHO's advice.
Harleen, the health department is not yet disclosing the results of trial or the results of administering the drug on participating COVID-19 patients for the reason that they are still on the clinical trial phase. That's what the DOH spokesperson said. However, she assures that they will also hit the pause button for the hydroxychloroquine trial, just like what the World Health Organization did. Harleen, hydroxychloroquine is one of the 4 drugs recommended by WHO used in the Solidarity trial. It is a less toxic derivative of chloroquine, an approved drug for treating lupus and rheumatoid arthritis, and for preventing as well as treating malaria. In relation to this, Harleen, the country's Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, has released an advisory that all hospitals and healthcare providers must take extreme caution on the use of chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine due to the risk of QT prolongation. Those drugs should be used with caution in patients with congenital or documented acquired QT prolongation, such as cardiac arrest, heart failure, or myocardial infarction.
Aiko, may I ask, how many patients are participating in the clinical trial?
Harleen, based on a DOH report, there are 81 patients in 21 hospitals who have voluntarily joined the Solidarity trial in the country, which aims to find a cure against the coronavirus disease 2019. Harleen.
All right, thank you so much, Aiko Miguel.
The Philippine Hospital Association, or PHA, supports Health Secretary Francisco Duque III, despite calls from several medical professionals for him to step down. PHA President Dr. Jaime Almora stands firm that this is not the time for politics, but instead we should focus more on the COVID-19 situation in the country, like what frontline healthcare workers do. The PHA consists of almost 2,000 hospital members. Since last month, large groups of medical professionals, like the Private Hospitals Association of the Philippines, Inc., or PHAPI, have expressed their support for Secretary Duque. But PHAPI changed its tune by sending a letter to President Duterte requesting for the health chief's replacement. President Rodrigo Duterte advises Health Secretary Francisco Duque III not to be touchy on criticisms. Meanwhile, a chief executive wants an investigation into the alleged profiteering of some businessmen amid the COVID-19 crisis. Our Malacanang correspondent, Rosalie Cos, will tell us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte says he understands the health secretary's situation now that he is surrounded with controversies. He gives pieces of advice to Health Secretary Francisco Duque III on how to deal with criticisms.
So, alam ko ikaw, you're hard-pressed. And I know your situation. You just tell us if that is the one that's in your the gray matter between your ears. Eh, hindi sabihin mo, ayaw ninyo maniwala, bahala kayo, basta ito yung akin. So that maybe you should adopt that kind of attitude. So be it. If I committed the wrong, as long as there is no malice there.
Malacanang reiterates that as long as the health chief remains in his post, it means he still enjoys the chief executive's trust and confidence. Meanwhile, President Duterte stands with the Department of Budget and Management's procurement of high-grade personal protective equipment, or PPE, amounting to 1,100 pesos per piece. This was after some lawmakers questioned the allegedly overpriced medical supplies the government had acquired, including the PPEs.
There is a standard set by DOH and FDA, international standards, and we're following that. We don't go below kasi nga, the company can be sued, we can be sued.
I agree with you.
He also reminds the concerned government agencies not to recycle PPEs.
Buhay yan. Tama yan. Yun ang binili mo?
Yes po. This high grade po. Yes.
Tama yan. Walang problema.
As for the issue on profiteering of local suppliers amid the pandemic, the president wants the National Bureau of Investigation to launch a probe on the matter. Based on a report forwarded to the president, some businessmen had been overpricing COVID-19 testing kits and machines offered to the government. Rosa Licos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the Interagency Task Force Against COVID-19 is expected to give its recommendation to President Rodrigo Duterte on the fate of areas under modified enhanced community quarantine, such as the National Capital Region or NCR after May 31st. The IATF is scheduled to meet again tomorrow.
Well, antayin na po natin ang magiging desisyon ng ating IATF dahil inaasahan naman po natin na bukas baka meron ng desisyon. No? Importante po, titignan natin ang doubling rate, ang critical care capacity at syempre attention din sa ating ekonomiya.
President Duterte underscores the public must remain vigilant and cautious against the new coronavirus despite the possible further easing of quarantine and anti-COVID-19 restrictions. The Department of the Interior and Local Government Secretary Eduardo Año says that the Interagency Task Force Against COVID-19 is looking into the possible shifting of areas under modified enhanced community quarantine to general community quarantine starting in June. Joanne Nano explains why.
The IATF Against COVID-19 is scheduled to meet tomorrow to evaluate reports from its technical working group as to whether to lift or to extend the modified enhanced community quarantine after May 31. In a virtual press conference earlier today, Interior and Local Government Secretary Eduardo Año said that areas under MECQ might shift to general community quarantine by June. Secretary Año explained the IATF is looking at easing the community quarantine by zoning, wherein local governments will limit the lockdown measures within specific areas only where COVID-19 cases are increasing.
Kahit yan ay naka-DCQ, pwede pa rin mag-declare ang local executive ng critical zone. Ito yung mga lugar na merong 20 or plus cases, new cases, at mabilis ang pagdami.
The IATF might also make certain adjustments when it comes to quarantine controlled points.
Meron tayong tinatawag na mga modified checkpoints para hindi na masyadong nagbubuol-buol yung trapiko. At random yung gagawin natin.
Meanwhile, the Metro Manila mayors are finalizing their recommendation on the fate of MECQ in the National Capital Region. MMC Chairman and Parañaque City Mayor Edwin Olivares has earlier stated that majority of the mayors are in favor of shifting to GCQ in order for the Philippine economy to cope with losses caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Joanne Naro, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Jago William, we are on board the UNTV radio mobile booth and we are here in Quezon Avenue in Quezon City. Let us take a look at the situation on the road. Jago William, so far we have a light traffic here in westbound lane of Quezon Avenue. There is also light traffic at the other side in the eastbound lane. Most of the vehicles that are passing by are private cars. Some are emergency vehicles and trucks carrying goods. Jago and William, we are still under the modified enhanced community quarantine until May 31. That is why public transportation is still suspended. Meanwhile, as parents and students anticipate the opening of school year 2020 to 2021, the country's health chief believes it is safe to open classes in August as long as minimum health standards are met. This was his response when asked during the Senate hearing today, led by the Committee on Health and Demography, whether it is safe to open classes in relation to the earlier pronouncement of President Rodrigo Duterte that he will not allow children to go back to face-to-face learning without vaccine against COVID-19. According to Duque, the opening of classes set on August 24 would be safe if the health protocols will be ensured and implemented, such as physical distancing, proper hand washing and disinfection, and thermal scanning.
Pag-aralan po natin maigi ito, pero sa ngayon po tingin namin na ligtas naman po kung bubuksan natin ang klase by August 24. At kinakailangan po rito siguraduhin lamang na ang lahat ng atin minimum standards for health ay nakatalaga. Tingin ko magiging ligtas naman po ang pagbubukas ng ating pong mga paaralan at meron din po tayong evidence-based na ating po titignan gaya ng ginagawa po ng IATF. We will continue to evaluate yung pong bilang ng mga kaso down to the barangay levels.
However, hours after, the Department of Health has released a new statement saying that the Secretary supports the call to suspend face-to-face classes. In a statement, the DOH quoted Duque saying that the country cannot risk children going back to schools until there is no vaccine. Meanwhile, some senators have filed a bill seeking to amend Republic Act 7797, which mandates that the school year start on the first Monday of June, but not later than the last day of August. Senate Bill number 1541 proposes that the President, upon the recommendation of the Education Secretary, may have the authority to set a different date for the start of the school year in the event of a declaration of a state of emergency or state of calamity. The Education Department has yet to officially comment on the matter. Let's now take a closer look at the updated counts of coronavirus cases around the world. The COVID-19 pandemic has now reached a total of nearly 5,509,000 confirmed cases in 188 countries, regions, and sovereignty. The fast-spreading disease has claimed more than 346,000 lives, while over 2.2 million patients across the globe have recovered from the new coronavirus infection. The United States of America, still the number hotspot of the coronavirus pandemic, has so far recorded nearly 1.7 million known cases and the highest death toll now at almost 380,000. Brazil and Russia trails the USA, both breaching the 350,000 mark. If you will notice in the tally, only the United Kingdom reports less recovering patients than death cases. Meanwhile, in the next 6 nations with the most number of COVID-19 cases, Germany's recoveries are more than 80% of the total number of known positives. Peru, meanwhile, has recently entered this top 12 tally. To add to that report, Peruvian President Martin Vizcarra said Monday that coronavirus infections had reached a plateau in the Andean country and that his nation should expect a gradual but slow decrease of new cases. Although the country's state of emergency and nationwide lockdown would be extended until the end of June, marking one of the longest periods of mandatory isolation in the world. Meanwhile, in the Philippines, the Department of Health reports 350 new cases of new coronavirus infection, bringing the total known COVID-19 confirmed positives in the country to 14,669. That's based on the Health Department's 4 p.m. report today. We have lost 13 more patients. Now the country's death toll stands at 886. With the help of our valiant medical frontliners, 89 more people have won their battle against the invisible enemy. That brings the total recoveries nationwide to 3,412. That leaves the total active cases in the Philippines to 10,371. For those watching us on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on the right side of your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook.
President Rodrigo Duterte is not in favor of reopening classes in person unless a vaccine against coronavirus disease 2019 is readily available. The president's priority is the safety of students in the country, he says.
Yung opening ng classes, that's a very... I will not allow the opening of classes na magdikit-dikit yung mga bata. Bahala na, hindi na makatapos. For this generation, wala na matapos na doktor pati engineer. Wala. Kasi hindi na, wala ng aral. Laro na lang. Unless I am sure that they are really safe. it's useless to be talking about opening of classes. That's for my mind. Para sa akin, bakuna muna. Pag nandiyan ang bakuna, okay na.
Malacanang underscores that the president was pertaining to face-to-face classroom setting when he said this. Rosalie Cos will give the details why.
The Malacanang Palace clarifies the president was talking about traditional or face-to-face classroom classes, which he said not to open yet unless there's a vaccine to protect people from the disease caused by the new coronavirus. In fact, the government will implement a flexible blended learning system in all levels if the threat of COVID-19 persists until August this year. The flexible blended learning system includes the use of radio and television as media of teaching, especially in remote areas where internet connection is not available.
Kung hindi po talaga dumating ang new normal at hindi ma-lift ang mga community quarantines, hindi naman po ibig sabihin na hindi na mag-aaral ang ating mga kabataan. Meron po tayong tinatawag na blended learning. Sang-ayon po kay Secretary Briones ng DepEd, gagamitin po natin ang telebisyon, ang radyo at ang internet para ipagpatuloy po ang edukasyon ng ating mga kabataan.
The Department of Education pushes the opening of school year 2020 to 2021 on August 24. Rosa Licoz, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Different countries are searching for a cure for COVID-19 patients, but until today, no such vaccine or drug has been proved effective in treating new coronavirus infection. June 1st is just around the corner. On Monday, the Education Department will open the enrollment for school year 2020 to 2021, but some parents say they doubt if they would send their children to school if there is still no cure for COVID-19. Dante Amento, who talked with some of those parents today, will tell us why.
Call center agent Aurora Kiban has 2 children. One is grade 4 and the other is grade 1 when school year 2020-2021 opens. Aurora said she plans to enroll her children in online classes instead of letting her kids physically go to school.
Awa ng Diyos, meron naman po kaming stable na internet at meron naman pong gamit para sa virtual class or online class ng mga bata.
Even Sherilyn Geronimo prefers not to send her children to school amid the threat of COVID-19.
Kasi pag sa school, hindi naman sila pwedeng pagbawalan ng teacher. Pag sinabi ng teacher, huwag dikit-dikit, siyempre mga bata yan.
On the other hand, Martin Aloba, who has 7 children in high school and college levels, wants to register his kids in virtual classes, willing to sacrifice, he said.
Kapag hindi bumalik sa normal ang lahat, I rather sacrifice na yung 1 year nila na mag-enjoy na lang kaming buong pamilya, na mag-bonding kami.
Last night, President Duterte disclosed that he is not favored to reopen face-to-face classes until there is a vaccine against the new coronavirus. The Department of Education, for it, says they need to clarify matter first before making any statement. The Commission on Higher Education also has not made any comments yet. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Philippine National Police is preparing for the possible transition to general community quarantine. It is also gearing up for the resumption of frontline services inside the police national headquarters. Our police reporter, Leah Ilagan, will explain why.
Metro Manila still has 5 days remaining under the Modified Enhanced Community Quarantine or MECQ. The police are preparing for the possible downgrade of the community quarantine level to General Community Quarantine or GCQ. Philippine National Police spokesperson, Police Brigadier General Bernard Bana confirms that checkpoints across Metro Manila will continue even when the National Capital Region is placed under the GCQ. Their full implementation of anti-criminality and anti-drugs campaign will also resume.
Kailangan natin na mapanatili ang malakas na presensya ng ating kapulisan para sa pag-anticipate natin na may possibility na tumaas muli ang bilang ng mga krimen.
Police Brigadier General Banak adds they are also preparing for the reopening of their frontline services inside Camp Crame after temporarily closure due to COVID-19. The frontline services inside Camp Crame include the application of license to own and possess firearms in the Firearms and Explosive Office or FEO, permit for security guards in the Supervisory Office on Security and Investigation Agency or SOSHA, clearance for Vehicle and Highway Patrol Group Office, and application for police clearance.
Bilang din of course ang preparation natin para gawing online na ang mga transactions na yan. Ganun din ang mga payments, no? Gagawin nating online. Napakahalaga na ngayon pa lang ay pinaghahandaan na natin ang new normal ng ating mga frontline regulatory services.
Banak adds they will strictly implement the minimum health protocols like wearing a face mask when entering the camp and filing out of forms to be used for contact tracing. The number of persons transacting with regulatory offices inside Camp Crame will also be limited. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
President Rodrigo Duterte warns local government units who will refuse returning Filipino seafarers and overseas Filipino workers who have been cleared by authorities after testing negative for coronavirus infection.
It is the constitutional right of people to go home, to travel and go home. Do not impede it. Do not obstruct the movement of people because you run the risk of getting sued criminally.
The president admits, however, it is a daunting task and a huge challenge for the government as more and more Filipino workers are returning to the Philippines after their overseas jobs were affected by the coronavirus pandemic. Approximately 302,000 more OFWs are expected to come home to the Philippines this year, coming from nations also turned upside down by the present global health emergency. The Philippine Coast Guard, or PCG, announced today the ship voyage scheduled for repatriated overseas Filipinos on May 27 to 28, 2020. To avail of the scheduled trips, coordinate with to-go personnel through these numbers. Since May 17, there have been ship voyages from Manila to Visayas and Mindanao provinces to ferry land-based and sea-based OFWs, as well as returning Filipinos whose COVID-19 tests have turned out negative in the RT-PCR testing administered by the Sub-Task Group for the Repatriation of OFWs.
The Department of Foreign Affairs confirms today there are no new fatalities due to COVID-19 reported by our foreign service posts among Filipinos overseas. The daily rate of confirmed cases decreased with only 18 new confirmed COVID-19 cases, while the daily rate of recoveries increased with 60 new recoveries, mostly from Asia and the Pacific and Europe. The DFA says it remains committed to continuously monitoring the status of our nationals abroad and providing assistance whenever possible to ensure their welfare as we continue to battle against COVID-19. Despite loan moratoriums and the grace period granted to members of the Pag-ibig Fund, the agency continues to extend its projects more aggressively. Ray Pelayo explains why.
Over 120,000 members of Pag-ibig Fund have been granted multipurpose and or calamity loans within the duration of community quarantine since the outbreak of coronavirus disease early this year. This translates to an accumulated amount of almost 2 billion pesos in loans apart from the approved housing loans within the community quarantine period amounting to an additional 2 billion pesos. The loaned amount will be a big help for members in this time of health crisis. The agency reiterates that a grace period for payment applies to all existing loans within the community quarantine period, and members who wish to extend their payment terms may apply for the 3-month moratorium. The agency assures that the adjustments do not affect any of the government's existing projects that it supports. In fact, Pag-ibig Fund has allotted a 10 billion peso budget for the government's housing projects being constructed while quarantine orders are in place.
Habang natutulungan natin ang mga miyembro natin sapagkat nabibigyan natin sila ng pagkakataong magkabahay, nakaka-generate pa tayo ng trabaho. Dahil nga ang construction, napakataas ng multiplier effect nito. Ibig sabihin, marami pa itong ma-generate na trabaho.
He also confirms that around 200,000 applications for moratorium have been approved. Those interested to apply for a moratorium may visit the agency's website at www.pagibigfund.gov.ph. Ray Pilayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Now that people cannot go to shopping malls freely because of anti-coronavirus measures, online selling is expected to play a big role in the new normal in shopping. If online selling is something you want to try and earn extra, here are a few simple steps for starters. Monokson reports.
Do you know how to cook? Do you offer any useful product? Or a hobby which you believe can also be beneficial to others? Why not use those for a new bread and butter? Now that we are all expecting to live a daily life under the new normal, in these times when the movement of people, vehicles, and even basic services are limited, almost everybody takes to the internet even for shopping. So why not try and become an online seller? Just follow these very simple steps. 1. Think of a product you want to sell. Be it food, clothing, or homemade products, the possibilities are almost unlimited. Step 2. Get your camera and take snapshots of your product. Be genuine. Make sure that what your customers see is what they will get. Step 3. Post the photos on social media. Type in brief and easy to understand descriptions. You can even create dedicated social media pages for your product on almost any platform. Just be sure you have enough stock when you offer your products. You must also decide which modes of payment you will offer your customers. And then wait for orders. Step 5. Deliver the goods as efficiently as possible. Note that not only the quality of your products matters to your customers, but also how fast you deliver an item, no matter how small, no matter the price. On a legal point of view, clearly, online selling in the Philippines is under the supervision of the Department of Trade and Industry or DTI. Whether you're a big online seller or a small one, you are expected to submit to the DTI supervision. However, the DTI clarifies that its job is to supervise and not to regulate online sellers. In case of customer complaints, the DTI acts through the PNP's Anti-Cybercrime Group. That is why the Trade Department warns online sellers and consumers.
The consumers will have to be very, very careful sa mga yung identity ng seller nila because they're not sure about the quality of the products that they buy. Tapos hindi rin sila sigurado kung makakarating sa kanila after nila magbayad.
Abet is an online seller for 8 years now. This is her primary source of income. She sells clothes and high-end gadgets.
May papayo ko siguro lang talaga, sipag at tiyaga sa mga gustong mag-online. Tsaka magandang customer service kasi yung iba sa sobrang dami ng option na pwede nilang mabilhan, naghahanap din sila ng mga reviews, mga feedback, good feedbacks.
Being an online seller, not only can you earn, but also serve others genuinely to get good reviews, excellent service, and products, plus honesty is the key. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The 17 Metro Manila mayors unanimously voted to recommend to the IATF that transition to general community quarantine after the modified enhanced community quarantine period expires on May 31. However, The Metro Manila Council wants to be cautious with the resumption of public transportation, such as public utility buses and jeepneys, as well as limiting mall operations. The mayors also consider the implementation of a modified coding scheme for private cars in lieu of limiting the public transportation to taxis, TNVS, and tricycles only. The MMC will submit its recommendation to the IATF tomorrow, as the national government will decide whether to lift or extend the MECQ by June 1. In the coming weeks, ABS-CBN may release a list of some of employees for layoff, as the giant media network remains without a franchise as of this moment. Vincent Arboleda will tell us why.
Due to increasing losses in revenue as ABS-CBN continues to be off the air, ABS-CBN President Carlo Katigbak says the network may be releasing a list of employees to be laid off in the coming weeks. Based on the appeal made by ABS-CBN to the Supreme Court regarding the cease and desist order of the NTC, the network says they are losing around 35 million pesos every day of not airing.
We want to do everything we can to protect our employees. Pero may hangganan din ang kakayahan ng kumpanya namin. Habang wala kami sa ere, palaki ng palaki ang nalulugi sa amin. At sa mga darating na linggo, mapipilitan na kami maglabas ng listahan ng mga empleyadong mawawalan ng trabaho.
During his speech at the joint hearing of the Legislative Franchise Committee and the Committee on Good Governance and Public Accountability, Katigbak appealed to the lawmakers to grant them the franchise as it is within the power of Congress. On the statements of some netizens that the giant media network is just asking for sympathy, Katigbak answers they should also try to talk to their employees who are worrying for their future.
Hindi po kami nagpapaawa. Umaapela po kami. Ibalik niyo po ang ABS-CBN para maprotektahan namin ang 11,000 kong kapamilya at ang kanilang mga minamahal sa buhay.
During the joint hearing, a lawmaker also presented to the committee that ABS-CBN must not use their employees' woes to seek for emotional appeal, but should answer all allegations hurled on the network. Some of these allegations include the supposed violation of labor rights, since among the network's 11,000 employees, only 2,661 are regular employees and more than 8,550 are project-based, seasonal, independent employees and talents who allegedly have no government-mandated benefits, something that the ABS-CBN CEO answered during his speech.
Up to now, there is no court that has determined we have broken any laws. Sabi po ng BIR, bayad ang aming buwis. Nanggaling po sa SEC na aprobado sa kanila ang pag-issue ng mga PDR. Ang Department of Justice ang nagsabi na hindi labag sa prangkisa ang KBO. Ang DOLE naman ay nagsabi na sumunod kami sa lahat ng compliance orders nila. Wala po kaming nilabag na batas. Pero inaamin namin na hindi kami isang perpektong organisasyon. May mga kakulangan din po kami at handa naming ayusin ang mga ito.
As the hearing has been suspended, ABS-CBN was requested to submit to the House of Representatives any documents, files, presentations that they would like to use in the next hearing as they answer the allegations hurled against them. The Joint Committee hearing on the 25-year franchise of ABS-CBN will resume on Monday at the House of Representatives. Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, says it is now finalizing the procedures in the distribution of the second tranche of the Social Amelioration Program. According to Undersecretary Rene Paje, it will also depend on the speed and accomplishment of local government units in completing their distribution of first tranche of emergency subsidy. However, the IATF will decide whether it will allow LGUs that have completed their distribution and submitted their validation reports to DSWD to begin its second tranche of distribution. In the latest tally of the agency, 1,479 out of over 1,600 LGUs in the country have completed their first SAP distribution. However, 646 of which, or 44%, have submitted their liquidation reports to the DSWD, which will then subject to validation process of the agency.
Kasi nga, lalo na hirap sa pagpipila, na inisip ko yun na yun dapat ang bawat sentimo na gagastusin doon ay mahalaga para sa pamilya. Ngayon, kinakailangan pa ni bagong check-up sa kanya, kaso nga lang, kapos na talaga eh.
The agency also noted that it proposes to prioritize the 5 million families who are qualified beneficiaries under the program but were not able to receive aid in the first tranche.
Yan po ay pinafacilitate natin sapagkat kung maaari sana ay magagawang buo yung nationwide yung ating pagsasubmit ng beneficiaries na encoded na SAC form sapagkat ito po dapat ay i-validate natin through deduplication. Yun po ang nasa memorandum circular natin. So yan po ay masusing pinag-aaralan ng DSWD upang mas mapabilis natin at mapaaga yung distribution ng second tranche.
The DSWD says it wants to start a second tranche of distribution before this month ends. It adds it is doing everything they can to speed up the distribution process, including the utilization of electronic payment, the use of Relief Agad mobile application, and with the help of police and military personnel.
Tayo ay humihingi ng pangunawa sa ating pong mga kababayan na naapektuhan ng krisis at naghihintay po ng tulong o ayuda mula sa ating pamahalaan. Sinisikap po natin na bumuo ng mga pulisiya o mga panuntunan that will ensure the distribution of aid in an expeditious and effective manner.
And for the news abroad, here's Kath Dumaraos live from Bangkok, Thailand. Good evening, Kath.
Good evening, William, and also to Diego and Harleen. How are you?
Kath, what have you got for us tonight?
Well, William, I will give you updates on Thailand's easing of coronavirus restrictions, not just the success, but also concerns raised by citizens. Later, let's also take a glimpse of how the skies of Milan and Turin in Italy were bathed with the Italian flag's colors. And William, a handful of passengers from Brazil scrambled to board last U.S. flights.
All right, Kath, please tell us why.
William, since May 3rd, Thailand has been relaxing restrictions due to COVID-19 and reopening business establishments like shopping malls, barber shops, and parks as long as safety measures are in place. Due to the slow rise of confirmed COVID-19 cases, the public is slowly returning to their normal course in life. Employees going back to work and people adapting to the new normal introduced by the government. Some people took to social media to express their opinions about the disease control measures implemented in public places. A Facebook post by user Billwood says that we are discovering that the new normal can take some enjoyment out from eating out. Our tables were separated by a few meters with only one person allowed at a table. He also mentioned that Thailand has done very well in controlling the virus, so I guess it's worth it all. One safety measure in place is checking in through the Titana website, and the government has warned users to make sure they check in through the correct websites because there has been reports that there are some fake websites created to get information from users. From 2,960 confirmed COVID-19 cases since May 1st, only 85 cases were added with a total of 3,045 today, May 26, and 57 dead. 2,929 has recovered and 59 still hospitalized. People People in Tokyo woke up this morning to their first day with loosened social distancing curbs. This was after Japanese Prime Minister lifted a state of emergency for all areas in the country on Monday. Tokyo and the 3 surrounding prefectures, as well as Hokkaido, were the last remaining areas under emergency. Many residents welcomed the government's decision to end the emergency, though most said that they are still alert for the virus since more people are out on the streets. With the emergency order lifted, Tokyo will move into stage 1 of loosening restrictions, allowing libraries and museums to reopen and restaurants to stay open until later in the evening. Subsequent stages would see theaters, cinemas, and fairgrounds open. Prime Minister Abe, despite lifting the state of emergency, warned that it could be reimposed if the virus started spreading again. Federal Republic of Brazil President Jair Bolsonaro has faced severe criticisms for flouting social distancing guidelines and losing 2 health ministers in less than a month. Now he's facing further pressure. Chris Perez, who is now in Brazil, tells us why.
Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro has come under more pressure after U.S. President Donald Trump imposed a travel ban on non-U.S. citizens coming from the world's second hotspot of the coronavirus pandemic. The U.S. announced the measure on Sunday through a White House proclamation, as the number of recorded cases in Brazil rose to more than 363,000 and the death toll nearly 23,000. The White House press secretary says the move would help ensure foreign nationals who had been in Brazil do not become a source of additional infections in the U.S., the worst hit nation. This travel restriction comes as a blow to Brazil's far-right leader, who blames the world press for the travel ban. But advisor on international affairs to the Brazilian president, Felipe Martins, wrote in a Twitter post, "There is nothing specific against Brazil." U.S. President Donald Trump, in the proclamation, says commerce between the 2 nations remains an economic priority. The proclamation does not apply to persons aboard a flight scheduled to arrive in the U.S. prior to the date and time. White House has earlier suspended and limited the entry of persons from certain foreign jurisdictions where significant COVID-19 outbreaks have occurred. These jurisdictions include China, excluding Hong Kong and Macau, Iran, the Schengen area, the United Kingdom, excluding overseas territories outside of Europe, and the Republic of Ireland. Chris Perez, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
In relation to that news, Brazilians scrambled Monday to make last-minute arrangements to get to the United States ahead of new restrictions on travel from Brazil. A handful of passengers were seen at Sao Paulo's Guarulhos International Airport preparing to board a United flight to Houston Monday after the U.S. government brought the restrictions forward by 2 days. A White House statement amended the timing of the start of the restrictions to 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, May 26, instead of May 28, as in the original announcement on Sunday, May 24th. Brazil's coronavirus deaths reported in the last 24 hours were higher than the fatalities in the United States for the first time on Monday. According to the Health Ministry, Brazil registered 807 deaths and 620 died in the United States. Meanwhile, in Italy, the Air Force acrobatic team put on an impressive display on Monday. The Frecce Tricolori, or tricolor arrows, on Monday bathed the northern cities of Milan and Turin with the colors of the Italian flag. The team will be floating their 3 colors over 21 cities in 5 days, culminating in Rome on June 2nd for the Italian Republic Day. Codogno was one of the towns passed over on the first day, famed for being one of the first places to enter lockdown as it was ravaged by the coronavirus. One of the incentives for the performance this year is to bathe the country in a tricolor hug in a show of solidarity after the country slowly eases out of its tough lockdown pace. And those are the reasons behind the news here in Thailand and in other parts of the globe. Back to you, William.
Thank you, Kath de Maraos. You stay safe there in Bangkok.
Several Cuban artists have Take to Havana's walls where fellow citizens can see their works of art in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. Cuba has below 2,000 COVID-19 cases, but these artists remind their fellow Cubans the words courage and hope. Nina Armilio will tell us why.
The red and black stand out against the grays of old Havana, and you can't miss the message. A youth stares out from behind a bandana, covering his nose and mouth below massive letters that spell out the word courage. This is the work of a Cuban graffiti artist known only as Mr. Mill.
The word courage is very forceful in terms of message, right? It is telling you a specific thing. I think I put it on, but what I like is that people interpret it freely.
For some artists, the country's many abandoned or dilapidated buildings made for the perfect canvas. Elsewhere, in the fishing village of Kohimar, just east of Havana, a group of youngsters have painted some more colorful murals on some ruins right by the sea. One mural of a child holding a rainbow-colored pinwheel against a flowery background says it is dedicated to healthcare workers fighting the virus.
With the murals, with these attitudes we are taking, we are thanking the Cuban doctors and the doctors of the world, their assistants, their volunteers, that we are grateful for the work they are doing.
Another artist, Julier Rodriguez, keeps his work more contained. Welcome to Ciudad Corona, or Corona City, a collection of murals by Rodriguez in the backyard of a friend's home on the southern outskirts of Havana, inspired by the coronavirus pandemic.
Despite the fact that my figuration is not a happy figuration, I am trying to, without departing from reality, that it is not so positive for one who lives on the streets, integrating it with a more hopeful and more positive message.
Cuba, an archipelago of close to 12 million inhabitants, has recorded nearly 2,000 confirmed coronavirus infections, including less than 100 deaths and more than 1,700 recoveries. And here, artists spread positivity amid fears and uncertainty. Nina Armilio, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And those are the reasons behind the news, May 26, 2020. I am Harleen Delgado. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
And I am William Theo. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.